For many people, the main event of the show, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk was next. And this place, I mean, they were electric when they announced this match coming up next. And we've got Seth Rollins out in his referee outfit.
Like a bedazzled, referee outfit.
We had CM Punk representing Bret Hart.
Yep.
Very much so. Very subtle. And Drew McIntyre representing Drew McIntyre.
I guess he was the Undertaker in this equation.
Sure, I guess so. And we have the referee cam here. And when Seth signals for the bell, the place, they were going nuts for this.
This was the people's main event.
Like, this was the most anticipated match on the show. To the point that, as we had stated, if you didn't have Roman coming back, I think you could have... I don't know if you necessarily closed the show with this, but this was hot enough that this was the hottest match on the show, I thought, coming in.
I do also think like they want to set a precedent for like whenever a championship is a justifiable main event, one of the 4 championships will main event the show.
So they fight on the floor. Rollins isn't counting, and Drew's head is rammed into the steps and then catapults Punk's throat from under the ring, and then Drew takes over. They're exchanging open hand slaps. Drew goes to get a chair, and Rollins rips it away. And you've just got the visual that everybody was... It's like Bret and Undertaker with Shawn from 97. And in case this wasn't subtle enough, Michael Cole, shades of 97. Tell me more, Michael Cole. Okay. I don't get it.
I think you need to, though. You need to spell it out because there are people that weren't born in 1997.
Do they need to get it?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Because I think...
If you get it, great.
I think it's kind of... It encourages people to look it up and become deeper or just appreciate the spot more if they kind of do it. They could have just, I guess, found it on the internet and it would have been fine.
What if they did a picture-in-picture and just showed us exactly what happened 27 years ago?
At least it didn't bother me that he pointed it out.
It's fine. So, yeah, Drew pie faces him, and Rollins goes to swing the chair. But unlike 1997, Rollins pulls up and does not hit Punk with the chair. And he turns his back with the chair as Punk gets a roll-up, and Rollins is late to the count, and thus Drew survives. And Drew pulls out the bracelet and puts it on, calls for the Claymore, but is cut off with a drop kick, and CM Punk hitting 3 Blue Justice knees. Shout out Yuji Nagata. Then he comes off the top with an elbow, blows a kiss to Rollins, gets a 2 count, then goes to the Tenzon library with the Anaconda Vice. And while he's got the Anaconda Vice on, he removes the bracelet.
He sees the wrist.
He sees the wrist, gives up on the hold to take the bracelet. Folks, this was one of the loudest pops of the entire show, was removing this bracelet from a man's wrist. Mm-hmm. I was shocked. I was shocked at how loud it was. He just pulled it off his wrist.
It's not just the bracelet, though. It's like, to him...
It technically is a bracelet. Like, it doesn't mean anything that you don't have the bracelet, technically. So but they've taught you it means the world to this guy.
This whole feud has been an exercise in, giving tremendous value to something that has no value. This is a cheap bracelet given to him by a fan, but they've attached so much meaning to it that by the time it appears in a match like this, it means everything in the world. It says it's the Infinity Gauntlet at this point.
So he gets the vaunted bracelet back, but he has given up the hold in doing so. And as he turns around, he is hit with a Claymore for a big near fall. And then Drew goes for the Future Shock, but misses, and Drew is sent into his shoulder is sent into the post. I did not keep track of how many running into the shoulders being run into the post happened on the show, but people were literally tweeting me thinking that I must have been losing my mind. So there had to have been a goddamn many on this show.
A lot,
yeah, there were a lot. Then the GTS is called for, but he sees that Seth Rollins, in the whole scramble, the bracelet ended up on the ground. So the referee, Rollins, picks it up and he put it on his wrist. Mm-hmm. And Punk spots him. And he assumes you've stolen my wife and my dog.
Yeah.
And he has to stop. So he goes after Rollins and he's arguing with him. And Drew attacks him from behind. I think this bracelet is officially, it's too much of a vice on CM Punk.
It's a bit more valuable than any championship he's ever won. Yes.
So the Future Shock is countered and he hits the GTS. He has the cover, but Rollins is down after his after his interaction with
Drew attacked them basically.
Drew hit Punk into Rollins, so Rollins is down, returns for a 2 count, and Punk is pissed at the count being late, and he gets right into Rollins' face and yells at him, quote, "I don't care about your stupid Sabu pants." Just quite the line.
I couldn't hear that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And Seth comes back yelling, "This is my ring, my rules, my company. We don't need you here." And then Seth gets hit with a GTS, and Punk takes the bracelet back, and in his parting shot at Rollins says, "It isn't always about me, but it's never about you." And he then turns around and Drew kicks him in the balls. And this whole 50,000 seat audience felt that their genitals had been compromised too. And the Claymore is hit, and Rollins crawls over, counting 3 at 16 minutes and 58 seconds. And in the best part of this was Drew takes the bracelet back. And with the bracelet. And
after all this, he still
stands on top of Punk. Yeah. I saw a lot of different opinions of this match. I thought they did kind of settle into things in the middle. They were super hot for the beginning, they were super hot for the ending, and they were super hot for the bracelet. The criticism I saw was there was a lot of exposition and acting in this end part. And I think that's what it comes down to. Was it too much dialogue for you? There was a lot of it to tell their story, literally tell you their story. I enjoyed, though, this presentation. And by the end of it, I thought you had several very compelling matches that were heightened coming out of this with the right person winning.
So this, I think you can categorize it in the category of like, oh man, we can't call them cinematic matches because that's one thing that was taking place during the pandemic. But maybe live theater type of matches, you know, like
the Shawn Michaels influence.
Shawn Michaels influence. I want to say like, you know, the Roman Reigns style of match as well, where like a lot of it is done for.
Like they had Seth like mic'd there, a lot of it so that you could hear like this being a big part of the match.
A lot of it is done for the camera with the intention of like, you know, audio being picked up as they're talking. It's a TV product. It's a scene, right? This is one of those, and it's very different from I think any of CM Punk's recent work, and I guess we could say recent in AEW.
He did this a few times with Gabe in like 03.
Is that right?
They love this.
But I consider it almost like a WWE specialty at this point. Like it's not always done well, as I think we've seen with like Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, for instance. But this was a case where it was done really well, in my opinion. Now, if it's not your cup of tea, then it's never going to be. But to me, I just look at my own reaction, but I also look at the crowd's reaction, and they loved this shit. They went crazy for every single like sort of plot point that was there.
That bracelet spot, like I'm not joking here. Like it was like stunning to me. Like it was a real eye opener in terms of like how invested people were just and getting that bracelet over to mean something so significant to this audience. They went wild.
And to me, I like this style because I recognize how much work and artistry is required to get to reactions like this. But, you know, even if it is like you want to call it in-ring acting, like there's a lot of groundwork that they did to attach meaning to the bracelet. And then I think they created in this match really perfect moments for the bracelet to come back up into the match. For one thing, the Anaconda Vice being a move that focuses on the wrist, I think is a perfect time for CM Punk to notice it. The sort of subtlety of like the bracelet kind of being lost, it's just all around the ring. We don't know that Seth has picked it up, but the moment that CM Punk is doing the GTS and then notices on the wrist, like that, I thought was like really smartly done. And just like kind of hits you during a time in the match where you're not really expecting it. So I really love the ping pong of the bracelet from place to place in the match.
It's got 32,000 likes.
John just showed me a screenshot of the ref cam where CM Punk's looking really mad, and somebody at Joe
Mashups
commented Jack Perry's POV.
Pretty terrific tweet.
I thought it made for a really exciting and unpredictable close. And, this was a story that they didn't just rely on wrestling moves to tell, but they used a lot of acting and character work, which I think for CM Punk at this stage of his career is very valuable tool for him to have. And really, it's the basis of this entire storyline. All three of them are like, they're storytellers. And when you have a...
and they feel like they're going to be intertwined for several months. Like you have Punk and Rollins, you have the rematch, and you can do Drew and Rollins. Like you have all the combinations you can, and I think they're all stronger coming out of this by the end of it. I thought match-wise, I thought it was like a pretty good match, but it was very reliant.
You mean in-ring content-wise? Because what is the match?
Yeah,
right?
like the storytelling to me really did lift this one for you, or it hurt. You might have had that reaction too. In terms of Punk coming back, he did not seem like a guy that, like, he wasn't doing like his springboard clothesline, I guess, but like
it wasn't that type of match, and I don't think it's that type of audience.
Didn't need it for this, but I also didn't feel like the guy was holding back in this match. Like he went out, he did a 17-minute match, and
with a lot
came out of it okay.
With a lot of it being laying down on the ground while, like, other people took the stage, for instance. Like, yeah, this is where I think, like, for CM Punk at however age he is, and maybe injury prone, we want to say, this sort of like style of in-ring storytelling is very effective for him. It got big reactions. I love the fact that he's demonstrating like flawed aspects of his character, which is he's highly emotional and he gets too angry.
And the story of this was Drew letting his ego and pride get the best of him at Mania. This time it was Punk that let that get in the way.
Drew successfully manipulated and got under his skin. So, yeah. And then now Rollins is tied into this. So what do you think is the next...
Well, let me just say, like, I have been banging the drum on, like, using Cleveland for all it's worth. If Drew doesn't, just declare himself the biggest win over CM Punk anyone has ever had in Cleveland, Drew McIntyre.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
I think we're losing that on the Cleveland front. So,